All right, ladies and gentlemen, I haven't messed with a knife in a little bit, or at least a new knife. And historically speaking, I'm sure if you'll recall, I stated in one of my really earlier videos that the price point between, say, $40 and $100, for the most part, I wasn't really excited about. There are probably a couple of exceptions, and this may be one of them. I'm not sure yet. It is the Civivi Cogent. If you look, and it's, definitely a Chinese made, but they do claim lifetime warranty. I've seen it in other hands, but I have not personally owned it. So I thought I'd give it one a shot. I think I paid right around 70 for this, but this is, like I said, it's my first time seeing it out of here. Look, free snack. Gotta love that. A wonderful carrying case that looks interesting. Oh, and it's kind of faux furry on the inside. And it comes with a sticker. Share your experience. Well, I'm starting to do that now, but we have yet to find out if I really love it or not. Instructions before use. Congratulations. I think it's like, don't cut yourself. Don't do anything too dumb. Don't disassemble it unless you know what you're doing. And lifetime warranty, material and workmanship. A cloth. Oop, hold it. What else we got? A sticker. Love your knife. Tell everybody. Okay. God love them. Well, they're hoping that I'll share it. So, and here is the knife itself. Now, this is a button lock, and it also has a flipper on it. I know that much. And I do believe the pocket clip is reversible, which I will shortly be doing. So, this is my first, like, I literally just opened this up. So, and it flips nicely. And the blade does not seem to wiggle. And if I hit the button, it closes. So, not bad. More on the various pieces, parts of the knife. Interesting bounce. Well, it definitely closes easily. It's not stiff. It's nicely centered. I'll probably do some sharpness testing a little bit, but it feels pretty sharp right out of the box. It's not shaving sharp, but it is sharp. So like I said, I'll do a sharpness test. I'm going to carry this around for a little bit. I'm kind of curious. It was recommended to me, and so this is kind of the opening foray into actually testing this one out. So I don't know. I'll let you know what I think once I get further down the road. But initial look is interesting. I still don't know if it's going to sway me to a smaller price point than what I normally play with, but more on it in a little bit. We'll find out. Okay, let's talk a little bit about specs and a little bit about sharpness. I will just subtitle out the specs, so when it comes to dimensions, weight, everything like that. So I won't even bother discussing it or doing it long form. Just take a look at the specs. You can pause if you want to see it. But I will tell you guys, the Civivi is a light knife. It's not as light as, say, a Benchmade bug out, but it's not really heavy, especially for its size. I did sharpen it, and I got it to a very good edge, guys. This steel took a really good edge, and I don't know if you can see, but like it's shaving, right? It is super, super sharp. And it wasn't too difficult to get it to that level of sharpness. Now, I don't think it's going to hold that edge anywhere near as good as, say, a powdered metal steel. The steel type that it has is 14C28N. This steel is made by Sandvik in Sweden, and this particular variant was made for Kershaw. They wanted a steel that was a little more rust resistant than the previous iteration they had used from Sandvik, which was a 13C28N, I think. So a little bit more chromium got them a more corrosion resistant steel. And so if you're familiar with the steel, or you've heard of it before, it is or was predominantly a Kershaw steel for a long time. I think they had exclusive rights for at least a year. So once that year was up, then other manufacturers started to use the steel. One of the reasons that I got interested in the Civivi was that in that price range, most of the steels that proliferate that range tend to be D2s, 440s, the Chinese steels like the 13CRs. Not that those are bad steels, but they are not as good as the 14C28N that Sandvik makes. Now, I'll tell you that some people refer to the steel, the 14C28N, as a budget steel. And I suppose it could be, depending on your perspective, but in that price range, it's probably one of the better steels, cutlery steels, knife steels that there are. You are certainly not going to get as good a performance out of this as you would say a CPM S30V or any of the crucible powdered metal steels. But the cheapest one of those that I've found starts at $100. And most of them, you start looking at between $140 and $200, especially once you start looking at the, I guess, even more recent variants of that technology. Like if you talk about S90, S110, you're not going to get into those for under $100. So, but just like some of my other knives, I got a really good edge on this knife. The question really is going to be, how long does it hold it? So I got a whole stack of old Amazon boxes here. I'm going to do about 20 cuts, and then we'll see what type of sharpness I can get. I might fast forward this because it's going to take me a while. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 cuts. So a good amount of work. Let me get the catalog and see if it'll cut it. So we got the old U-line catalog. Let's see what we accomplish. Still cutting the catalog. And it'll still shave, but not quite as sharp. So let's do another 20 cuts. All right, well, that was another 20, so now we're up to 40 deep cuts in cardboard. And I can hear it. The abrasive qualities of the cardboard have started to take their toll, but it's still cutting. So here's the thing, guys, and I know it probably won't sharpen at this point, or won't shave. Yeah, I've taken enough of that edge off. I'll attempt to bring it back with the strop real quick, but it might require an actual stone at this point to bring it back to what I would consider shaving sharp. But nonetheless, you know, it is doing very well at what I consider to be a pretty abrasive task. Like cutting cardboard is not particularly good for a knife edge. The only thing I know that's really worse is probably rope. Now, rope has such abrasive qualities. That's why if you watch a lot of other YouTube channels, they chop a lot of rope. And that's what they determine in terms of number of cuts on rope to really kind of define the edge holding capability of any given blade. Yeah, so with just that little bit of stropping, I'm back to shaving hairs. So 40 cuts in cardboard, a little bit of strop, we're right back. $70 knife, guys. in that price range, I'm pretty impressed with it thus far. I'm going to carry it some more and kind of see what I think. But in the short term, I've only had this knife a handful of days. It stacks up pretty well. So my final thoughts, probably in another week. I'll obviously compress this whole video, so you're not going to have to wait a week, and I'll give you my final thoughts. But thus far, guys, I'm not unhappy with it, and it seems to work pretty well. So I've carried the Civivi Cogent for about a week and a half, 2 weeks now. I've used it pretty extensively for like any knife chore that I had, and I've come to some thoughts. One, for a knife that is just under $70, I think it's a pretty darn good knife. It opens very nicely right out of the box, as you guys saw. Like, I did not have to adjust the pivot. I did not have to lubricate anything. It was excellent. It came reasonably sharp. It did not come screamingly sharp, but reasonable. I cannot complain about that. I switched the pocket clip from right hand carry to left hand carry. Now, when I did that, a little gotcha, and I'll show you in pictures, there are 2 screws that hold the pocket clip on. The side where the pocket clip is not, you're going to have to dismount one of those screws and then switch the whole apparatus. Pocket clip with the 2 screws will go to the other side, and that single screw is one of the main screws that holds the back together, so you'll have to trade those out. I put blue Loctite on those, and they have stayed in place, no issues. But just so you know, if you are one of those left-handed weirdos like myself, you've got to do dismounts on both sides, swap, and then remount. It took all of 3 minutes, but just be aware of that. The steel, 14C28N, I very much like that steel. It is not the equivalent of a crucible powdered metal steel. The CPM steels, you cannot get into them for less than $120 to $140 for a knife. In fact, just today I saw one of the Spyderco Manixes was on sale on Amazon for 120 bucks. Normally it's 140 plus. So that level of steel commands that price. But I will tell you, of all of the sub $100 steels, I'm really starting to like the 14C28N. It holds an edge really well. Much better than, say, the D2, the Chinese steels, everything like that. And interestingly, with a little bit of stropping, it comes right back. When I sharpened this, I sharpened it on the Apex Edge Pro, and I sharpened it to 1000 grit. And I only sharpened it one time, and then after that, I cut a bunch of stuff, which you saw in the earlier video segment. I then occasionally stropped it, and right now, I mean, it has not seen any more sharpening, and let's see if I can show you on film. Like, it'll still take hair, and it's not seen a sharpening stone since, guys. So if you don't mind an occasional strop on a knife, this is an amazing edge holder for the money. Very corrosion resistant. It's a good steel. Honestly, I think of all of the non powder metal metallurgy steels, this might be my new current favorite. Excellent freaking steel. It opens nicely, closes so easily, and it isn't super heavy, about 3.8 ounces on the scale. An amazing knife, and a lot of little details that you don't get in the more inexpensive knives. The liners, all the edges are beveled, so there's no sharp edges on the knife when you hold it. The G10 scales are pretty grippy without being so abrasive that I'm worried about them tearing through my pants. In general, guys, for this price range, I love this knife. And I'm about to say something that might freak you guys out. There's a Spyderco Tenacious, which is in the same price range, about $60 to $70. And that Spyderco Tenacious is made offshore. It is made by Spyderco to Spyderco specs, but it is a Chinese knife. It is made with a Chinese steel. It is a liner lock, which I don't love liner locks. And I like this better than that Spyderco. Now, before you flip out and go, oh my God, Jay just said he liked a cheap Chinese knife better than Spyderco, I don't like it as much as the Para or the Manix. Those, I think, are superior knives. Those are also double the price any given day of the week. This is $69.50 on Amazon right now as I'm recording this. That the good Spydercos, they're $140, and some go up to $200 if you go even higher end on the steels. So there's no real comparison. I mean, you're talking about price ranges that are radically different. If you've got $70 to spend on a knife, or that's the price range that you're comfortable with, this is my favorite knife in this price range. In that market segment of the $40 to $100, what I consider the knife wasteland, this is an Oasis, guys. This knife does not suck. I was showing it to some of the recruits today, and they were all like, oh my God, what kind of knife is that? I've never seen that before. And normally I tell those guys, hey, I need you to look at like Benchmades and Spydercos, because consistent quality, good guarantee, all of those things. But I think if I got somebody who honestly doesn't have the cash to spend on a $100 plus knife and needs a knife that is a reasonable knife, good quality knife, then this is it. The detent is such that without some very violent motion, the knife stays in place. Like, you can gravity or inertia flip it out, but it is not easy. And obviously once it's open, the button lock is reasonably strong. I don't know that it's really any stronger than most other modern locking mechanisms, and it's probably not as strong as a compression lock or ball bearing lock, but it's got to be at least as strong as a liner lock. And it doesn't require you to put your finger in the way of the knife blade or path of the knife blade to close it. And that in and of itself, I think, is worth a lot of money. It polishes very nicely. I don't know if you can see the bevel, but easily polished, holds a good edge. Guys, I'm super impressed. So I will tell you that I have a choice of a bunch of different knives I can carry in my pocket. This may very well stay. It's an excellent working knife. I don't ask for a ton out of my folders. Mostly I just cut open like ammo boxes, cut open crates of targets, things like that. Straps that are packing material. That's what this kind of knife always ends up taking care of. So guys, that's really all I got for now. You can hear all the dogs in the background probably. Take care, stay safe. As always, if this video has been interesting to you at all or enjoyable, please give me a like, subscribe. Any comments, if you ask questions, I do my best to answer them as soon as I can. And I'll talk to you soon, guys. Take care.
Get him, Jay.